God,
unbelievable revenge stories I've ever come across, but you won't even know that it's a revenge story until the very end. But before we get into that story...
All right, the serial killer you never heard of. There's a lot of serial killers in the chat. There might be one now. There's somebody in the chat right now that's a serial killer. He kills insects. He probably does weird stuff, and then he watches me for comfort. I don't know. But there's somebody in the chat that's like that. We have somebody everywhere. There is someone for everyone. So just know that while we all chatting, there's somebody plotting on some weirdo shit. Just know. We just got to keep it cool. We act like we don't know what's going on. And we just keep watching the videos. But if you relate to this video, get your funky ass away from me. Mr. Ballin' BET. Wow. Kyrie, you on one today, huh? Is Fat Fox? Fat Fox. Man, Fat Fox told somebody, we gonna make out. Let's get out the hood.
If you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered
Wait, so you
in
said I
story
don't think I
format,
am?
then you've come to the right place because that's all we do, and we upload once a week. So, if that's of interest to you, the next time the like button is out of town, secretly bug their house with
Fat Fox wouldn't bust a grape. He would probably offend the grape.
cameras and microphones, and then live stream those feeds
He's
on
just
the
disrespectful.
billboards
That's
in
all that
Times
Fat
Square,
Fox
New
is.
York. Also,
Fat
please
Fox is a
subscribe to our
disrespectful
channel
ass
and
person.
turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our
Yo,
videos.
Ken, thank you for the
Okay,
39
let's
months,
get
man.
into
God bless you,
today's
brother.
story.
I love you, man. God bless you, man. Mr. Ballin'. Yo, truly, Kyrie, tomorrow, Warzone. You better be fucking early and make it snappy. Mr. Ballin', let's get it. You built
In the
like a
early
grape.
evening of May 7th.
Yo, time out Fat Fox for the remainder of the stream. Time out Fat Fox for the remainder of the stream. Time out Fat Fox for the remainder of the stream. Thank you. Hopefully his JPay stamps is wasted and he's not allowed to use any computer time. Because again, if y'all don't know, he's in jail right now. He's incarcerated on weirdo charges. And so he uses JPay stamps and shit to get like cosmic brownies and computer time to watch our stream. So hopefully he has no JPay.
2008, a 65-year-old woman named Zavana Temolkoska walked around her kitchen inside of her apartment in the little southeastern European city of Kosovo. Kosovo is a quiet place at the base of this huge mountain in northern Macedonia, and while it's totally beautiful, it's utterly remote, and basically nothing really
he
of
always
note
fucking up,
happens here.
Raunchy.
Zavana cleaned houses
tweaking
for a living, but on this particular day, she was on a day off, and so she was just kind of hanging out at her apartment, waiting for her adult son, named Zoran, to come home. It was a beautiful, warm evening that night, and so Zavana had the windows in the kitchen open.
Is
and she
Mr.
walked
Ballin
around
related
making
to
herself something to eat.
John
And at
Solo?
some point, as she was doing this, she heard her phone ring, and so she grabbed it and answered, and she heard the sound of her friend on the other line. But her friend's voice sounded strange. It was strained and very uncomfortable, and she was asking Zavana if she was paying attention to the news right now. Did she have the radio on or the TV? And Zavana was like, no, why? And the friend would tell her that all over the news right now, there was this huge, terrible traffic accident that had happened in their town. And unfortunately, Zavana's son, Zoran, who she was waiting for to come home, was apparently involved in this accident. Zavana let out a strangled cry when she heard this, and then just dropped what she was using to make food and turned and ran out the door. And when she did, her neighbor who was outside saw her emerge and yelled out to her, hey, is everything okay? And Zavana, as she literally just continued running towards the road, she basically blurted out to the neighbor that her son was hurt and she was going to the hospital.
Oh, shit.
And this neighbor watched as Zavana just ran down the road.
Not a real photo of Zavana, so you have somebody else running? That's fucking crazy. Yo, he look like that John Solo dude. I watch him all the time too.
Turn the corner.
But if you are coming from YouTube and you've been watching the videos, the reactions that we do here is like a lot of crazy shit. So just know that you're gonna get a crazy take on what we do here live, me and Cell Squad. We do a lot of crazy shit on here versus like the YouTube videos. Now, Mr. Ballin is a W, bro. I watched a few of his videos.
Zavana did not have a car of her own.
You be having real pictures,
so literally, she was going to run to the hospital to make sure her son was okay. A little while later, that same neighbor who had just watched Zavana disappear around the corner heard a knock on their door. And so the neighbor went to the door, they opened it up, and they were totally shocked at who they saw standing outside. It was Zavana's son, Zoran, who did not appear to be hurt in any way. But before the neighbor
that's a
could
real
ask
picture.
any
Ew.
questions about this, Zoran, who looked visibly confused, said to the neighbor, hey, have you seen my mom? We were supposed to meet and have dinner together, and it's just totally unlike her to disappear without telling me where she was going. The neighbor just stared at Zoran for a second, having no idea what was going on here. And then the neighbor was like, well, wait a minute, Zoran, were you in a car accident? And Zoran's like, no, what are you talking about?
Oh, shit.
And then the neighbor kind of filled Zoran in about how they had seen his mother run outside, and she had mentioned how her son had been in this car accident.
Oh,
And
shit.
she literally ran to the hospital. Zoran was just as mystified by this as the neighbor was, and so Zoran just grabbed his phone and called the hospital to see if his mother was
The
there.
serial killer you've
But
never
when
heard
the
of. Okay,
hospital
I'm just
picked
making
up,
sure.
They would tell Zoran that his mother was not there, she had not been there all day, and two, even though they had heard reports about this car accident in town, there had not been any car accident victims brought to
What
the
the
hospital
fuck?
at all that day. And so by the end of that
Hey,
night,
I appreciate
when
that,
Zoran
Nathan, man.
really
Real
had
talk,
no
man.
idea what had happened to his mom, where she was, or what was going on with this car accident thing, he just did the only thing he could think to do, which was go to the police and report his mother missing.
Wow.
9 days later, on May 16th, when still Zavana was missing and the police had no idea what happened to her, there were no new leads, nothing. On this day, a 56-year-old reporter named Vlado Teneski, who actually happened to live
Puerto Rican O.J. Simpson. You see, this is the problem. I can't focus. If I see something, I gotta say what I think it is. It's a bad habit I have. Does he not look like OJ, like Hispanic? Yo, what up? What up, Ecstasy? Oh, I said we sit my lean in here, Shirley. Okay.
not that far away from where Savannah
I'm not
lived.
black, I'm OJ.
He got a call from one of his police sources. And the
How you doing,
source
though,
would tell him
Ecstasy? How you
that
doing, Pa?
Savannah had actually just been found, even though this was not public information, and unfortunately, Zavana was dead. Her body,
What?
which had been beaten and strangled and stabbed, had been found wrapped up in plastic and dumped in this illegal dumping area not far from the town's football stadium.
So she left the house to go try to find her son, who she thought was allegedly in this car accident, to then, wait a minute. I feel like I know where we're getting with this shit, and I'm not gonna say nothing.
Source told
Look around
Vlado
before
that when
work
her body
tomorrow.
was searched,
Hey man, I hope you've been
they
doing well
discovered
too,
she
man.
still had
God bless, bro.
valuables on her
We all need to get
person,
back into the game and
so
shit
that
together,
kind of
bro. Real
ruled out
talk.
the
Apex and
possibility
everything.
that this was a robbery gone wrong, which was the initial theory about what they were seeing. However, when police had done an initial probe into Zavana's life to figure out who this
Yeah,
victim
R.I.P., bro.
was,
This is actually
they
fucking
discovered
crazy.
that she was just this poor old cleaning lady who had no enemies to speak of, and so it really just made no sense that she was the victim of such an obviously brutal and intimate murder that was not financially motivated, at least not on the surface. Vlado thanked his source for all the information and then hung up. Vlado's source had sounded really shocked by this murder as he was telling Vlado, but now, as Vlado was sitting here thinking about what he had just been told, he wasn't really shocked as much as he was suspicious. He felt like something just was off about this murder.
I feel like the son has something to do with
maybe
it.
Zavana appeared to be this poor old cleaning lady with no enemies, but in reality, maybe that wasn't who she was. Maybe she was leading a secret life that got her killed. Or maybe she had stumbled upon something she was not supposed to see, and that got her killed. Vlado
You
had
getting
no
heated because of
idea,
the sad
but
deaths?
he just
Yeah, nah,
felt
this
like,
shit is
you know what?
nuts.
There's something
You just
off
don't have
about
a
this,
filter.
and it
I'm
needs
sorry.
to be investigated.
He look like PG.
Now,
Who?
Vlado had a reputation
No.
in town for being this very aggressive and kind of fearless
Oh, wait,
journalist
Vlado might have
who
something
had
to do
no
with it.
problem diving headfirst into some of these really murky stories that could involve corruption or misuse of power, and he would get to the bottom of it, and he would publish these articles where he spoke really critically about the government, about police, about anybody really who was in a position of power. But as a result of conducting himself this way, over his 30-year career, Vlado had been threatened with violence many, many times for things he had written or things he was about to write. But even though Vlado knew
The
this
Bates
Zavana
family?
murder case had the potential to
Wait,
once
who's the
again
Bates
put
family?
him in hot water
I feel
with
like
the
this some
powers that
crazy
be,
shit.
he still felt like it was his responsibility to dive into this thing and get to the truth. So,
Uh-oh.
feeling determined, Vlado grabbed his notebook and pen.
So he
and
jumps
walked out
into
the
this and
front
starts
door of his house,
investigating.
and he made the several-minute-long walk.
Real photo
over
of a
to
different
Zovana's
home in
house.
Kosovo.
When he got there, her son, Zoran, opened the door, and a few minutes later, Vlado and Zoran were sitting in the kitchen talking about what had happened. Zoran told Vlado all about how he came home and discovered his mom wasn't there.
Can I be honest, yo, Zoran looked like that motherfucker look a little bit nuts. He look a little nuts. No, not the Bates Motel, the Psycho. Oh no, I never seen that movie. I ain't gonna lie. Llama Arts is fire too, by the way, CJ. Facts. Respectfully, he look like he did it, bro. He don't look like he all the way up there in his head, bro. He look like he look a little Chicano Thurn. Like he look like he done that shit, bro. I ain't gonna lie. That motherfucker look like he did that shit, man. Come on, son.
And then he went
Thanks,
to neighbor's
truly.
house.
No, you're a W for that. You didn't even spoil it.
Had seen Savannah
I never seen
running
American
off to
Side.
the
No, yeah, I
hospital
did.
to
I'm
go look
tripping.
for
I'm tripping.
Zoran.
Yeah, I did.
I'm not hurt. I didn't get into a
Christian
car
Bale,
accident.
yes.
What's going on here? And as Zoran spoke, Vlado took lots of notes and asked lots of follow-up questions. And by the end of this interview, when Vlado felt like he knew everything there was to know about Zavana, he felt like he actually had a pretty good working theory as to what actually happened to Zavana. And the reason he felt like his theory could be accurate had to do with what Zoran told Vlado his mother did for a living, that she was a cleaning lady. Now, it took Vlado a couple of days to put together his story. He had to go out and interview dozens more people in the neighborhood. But finally, on May 19th, so just 3 days after Zavana was found murdered, Vlado published a story in the newspaper. And the story's explosive headline read, "A Serial Killer Stalks Kosovo."
What the fuck?
Did you know that this YouTube channel is not the only place where we post strange, dark, and mysterious content? No, we also have the Mr. Ball and
We have Mr. 3MG Live, man, motherfucker. Stop playing with me. Follow me. The Norman Bates character.
In the story, Vlado says
Now,
that
this shit is kinda
Savannah's
wild.
murder was very likely not an isolated killing. Instead, her murder was likely linked to 2 other murders of 2 other women. And these 2 other victims looked an awful lot
Now, he
like
do got a
Savannah.
podcast. I know who he
Literally.
is.
They were poor, older women who were also cleaning ladies.
I'm on his podcast.
And so that was why when Vlado was talking to Zoran, and Zoran described how his mother was, what she did for work, what she looked like, that Vlado started to remember these other victims, and he put it all together. The other 2 victims were 64-year-old Mitra Simjanoska, who was murdered in 2005, and the other victim was 56-year-old Lubitsa Lukoska, 2005.
Yo, isn't there something funny? What's up with these women with short hair? Yo, Caillou, thank you for the 15 months, gang, man. God bless you, and I appreciate it. What up, Lucid? How you doing? Yo, thank y'all so much, man. Thank y'all for the resubs, man. God bless y'all, man. Thank you. Yo, and my buck, yo, Cruz, thank you for the 32 months, bro. 32 of them babies, man. How you doing, man? You have made me cry, laugh, enjoy the journey. Let's keep going. Yeah, man, I appreciate you, man. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
32
Only a little bit.
really appreciate you,
Go
bro.
click on your whisper and just type it 3MG Live. Just send it to me through there. You'll be able to send it. Y'all ain't gonna lie, he has a type, bro. All these women have short hair. That last lady looked like a guy.
And the other victim was 56-year-old Lubitsa Lukoska.
Miguel? Nah, God bless her, man.
In 2007.
That's not even funny, man.
Now, Vlado's story was totally
kinda fucked
explosive
up.
because what he's saying
How you doing, though,
is
Cruz?
that there is a serial killer that is on the loose in this town. But this story was also highly explosive because Vlado spoke very critically about the police who were involved in this investigation. Specifically, he pointed out that the 05 and 07 murders of those 2 other women, those had been totally mishandled because arrests had been made in at least one of those cases, and clearly whoever they arrested was innocent here. And so the police just totally dropped the ball, at least in Vlado's opinion.
Wow.
And when the police read
That's what the clock
Vlado's
by. Hey,
story,
man, I'm happy
they
for you.
were very upset at him because he was so critical
The
of
pay-per-view's
them.
tomorrow. I'll watch it with y'all on
However,
Discord.
The police also did see that Vlado had managed to uncover a lot of new details from all of his interviews with witnesses and people in the neighborhood that did seem to paint a picture of this potentially really being a serial killer, not individual isolated killings. And so the police, based on Vlado's story, would actually begin investigating a serial killer in their midst. midst. They linked all 3 murders, and they began basically a new investigation.
What the fuck?
However, at the same time they began this new investigation, Vlado began to notice that he was being tailed all the time by police. He would be out in town doing his job, reporting and interviewing people, and there'd just be a police officer standing somewhere in the distance watching him. But Vlado had anticipated that no matter what, he was likely going to face some sort of blowback from the police. And so he just kind of accepted that they were going to watch him and maybe try to intimidate him.
That's crazy. That motherfucker brave, bro.
Because he had done his...
I ain't gonna lie. If that was me, I'd be too scared. I'd be like, yo, man, they're gonna try to kill me, bro. That's too brave. It's 7 p.m. tomorrow. We'll see if we watch that together. We'll probably watch it, or I could do like a live thing, have you on the Discord while I'm live, but I won't have the audio on the stream, man. That's kind of crazy. Like, I would fear my life to know that.
His job, he had reported the story the best that he could, and if they wanted to watch him from a distance, they could do that. By early June, so about 2 weeks after Zavana had been found murdered, the police, in this new serial killer investigation they were doing, had narrowed down their suspect pool, which was in the hundreds, down to just 3 people, and they felt like they were very close to making an arrest. About a month later, on June 20th, so by this point Vlado is still being trailed by police all the time, but the police have not come out publicly and said anything about the serial killer case. They're just continuing their investigation. But on this day, June 20th, Vlado's editor at the newspaper got a call from a police officer telling the
real
editor
photo of
they
North
were about to make an
Macedonia
arrest in the serial killer case. And as soon as their conversation ended, the editor called Vlado to tell him the news. But when he called Vlado, Vlado didn't pick up, which was very unusual.
Oh, nah, don't tell me he got bodied.
And the editor was also thinking to himself
how
strange it was that this officer had contacted him and not Vlado. Like, why aren't you going to the guy writing the stories and telling him about this new development? Why are you coming to me? The editor would continue to try calling Vlado several more times, but Vlado never answered.
Miss Jordan?
And so ultimately, the editor just
say word he killed him, bro.
Vlado must be busy, interviewing someone, or maybe more likely, he had already learned about this imminent arrest, and he was on scene, ready to capture in real time this arrest that was about to take place. Meanwhile, on a quiet street in Kosovo, the police had surrounded this very modest 2-story home that was very overgrown out front. It was surrounded by tall fir trees, and all the windows had heavy drapes covering them up. And then once the police felt like they had totally surrounded this building, a team of officers walked up onto the porch and knocked on the door and yelled out that they were police and whoever was inside to come out with their hands up. And for a moment, it was just totally silent and tense. And then the police on the porch heard footsteps inside the house. They had their guns ready to go, and then the door slowly opened up, and this man, who seemed very unthreatening and kind of confused, stepped out onto the porch, and the police immediately arrested him and took him away. A few minutes later, back at the newspaper headquarters, Vlado's editor got another phone call. And when he answered, it was the same police officer who had called before to warn him about this upcoming arrest. Except this time, the officer was calling to say the arrest had been made, they had caught their serial killer, and then he told the editor the name
what the fuck?
of the person they arrested. And when the editor heard the name, he dropped the phone in shock. The serial killer was Vlado. It would turn out that Vlado appeared very professional and calm on the outside.
Bro, sick as fuck. So Vlado was out here reporting murders. Was out here reporting shit. Even doubling back and reporting on his previous murders. In hindsight, was this whole idea of him getting followed.
But inside, he was full of rage, specifically at his mother, who he viewed as this terrible, cruel person. And after she died in 2002, Vlado became obsessed with this idea of getting revenge on his deceased mother. And the way he decided he would do that would be by killing random women who just kind of looked and seemed an awful lot like his
mother. Bruh. Gotta type. He was killing random women who had short hair, bro. It is genius. It's some psycho shit. He was doubling back, reporting on murders that he committed to where it may look like he's not the guy, but he was the guy.
Mother, i.e., they were poor,
Wow.
older, and cleaning ladies. His
That's
three victims,
fucking
Mitra
insane.
in 2005, Lubitsa
I'm
in
telling you.
2007, and Zvana in 2008, had all personally known Vlado's mother. And so Vlado had actually used that connection to gain each of his victims' trust.
Bro.
And then once he had their trust, he would lure them away to strangle, stab, and beat them to death. In Vlado's explosive newspaper story, he lied about a whole bunch of things just to throw the police off. Like, for example, he made up that he spoke to a witness who claimed to have seen Zvana get into a car with two men right before she vanished. Vlado did not see that. That was just a total lie designed to confuse the police. Vlado had also been the one to plant that story on the radio about Zvana's son, Zoran, being in this terrible accident. You know, that had caused Zvana to run out of her house and be vulnerable to be scooped up and killed,
R.I.P.,
which
bro.
is
That's some
exactly what
sick
Vlado
ass
wanted.
shit.
He had called the radio.
What up? I Chugs, you say, yo, what's good? Poppy said, used to play with Chase back in the OG Modern Warfare 3 days. We get out popping and say, yo, what up, man? How you doing, bro? What's good with you, gang? Hey, man, that's a W, bro. I appreciate you coming through, man. Hope all is well, man. Hope you and the family doing good, man.
Station and told them about this accident.
All right, let me hear this.
Because he had previously
Welcome in, my
worked
brother.
for that radio station, they believed him without doing any fact checking and broadcast the story.
What country
And so
was this
really,
again?
That whole radio broadcast was just a very intentional trap by Vlado to kill Zvana. But what ultimately got Vlado caught was in the article he wrote, he left in some really specific details that the police had not revealed to the public. And so basically by including these in the story, it meant Vlado had an inside scoop into what was really going on. Like, for example, Vlado said that all three of these women who had been killed by the serial killer had been strangled to death by telephone cords that were left at the scene. But again, the police had not revealed that to the public, and so when they read the story, they actually became very suspicious of Vlado and thought he could be involved in these murders. And so when Vlado felt like the police were trailing him just to intimidate him, in reality, the police were trailing Vlado because they thought he could be the murderer. And eventually, when they got a DNA sample from Vlado, it was confirmed that their suspicions were right. He was the killer. After Vlado's arrest, he was immediately charged with 2 of the 3 murders, and the police were getting ready to charge him with the 3rd, and they were even looking at a 4th victim, potentially, that maybe Vlado would kill as well, but they weren't entirely sure.
I've been good, bro. Everything's been good with the family. Everything's been good, brother, man.
3 days
That's
after
good to hear,
Vlado's
man.
arrest, he died in jail in a way that really didn't make any sense. Vlado had drowned in a small bucket of water inside of his jail cell while there were 3 other people inside of that jail cell with him who all said they didn't notice it happening. Officially, Vlado's death was ruled a suicide, and after his death, all of the murder investigations were closed.
Nah, they got right with him.